Once upon a time, a mother duck sat contentedly in her nest, keeping her eggs warm and safe. Spring was approaching fast, and Mother Duck knew that it wouldn't be long before her eggs would begin to hatch. She was excited at the thought of welcoming her little ducklings into the world and hoped that they would not keep her waiting too long. Gradually, the days became longer and warmer, and blossoms started to appear on the trees. Mother Duck looked down expectantly at the 6 eggs in her nest. "Come along now, my little ducklings," she coaxed gently. "It is time for you to come out into the world." There was no movement from within the 6 little eggs. "Do hurry up now," encouraged Mother Duck lovingly. "Spring is here, and you are missing the beautiful sunshine, the blue sky, and the pretty blossom on the trees." From inside one of the eggs, there came a tap, tap, tap. Mother Duck smiled happily. "About time, too," she laughed. "Come along, then, my precious little ones. Out you come." The first little bird tapped its way through the shell of its egg and stood unsteadily on its tiny feet. "Hello there, my sweet," welcomed Mother Duck gently. The little duckling ruffled its pretty yellow feathers in the warm sunshine, opened its beak, and let out a dainty tweet, tweet. "That's right," laughed Mother Duck happily. "You are a beautiful little duckling with a beautiful little voice, and I love you very much." One by one, the new little yellow ducklings tapped their way out of their shells and stood tweeting in front of their mother. Mother Duck looked down at them with pride. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she counted happily. "Now, where is number 6? Hurry along and come out now, my last little one." Mother Duck and the 5 little ducklings all gazed expectantly at the 6th egg, waiting to welcome the last member of their family. Suddenly, instead of a delicate tap, 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 the eggshell began to clumsily break apart, and out came not a pretty little yellow duckling, but a rather grey and rather scrawny-looking fellow. All the other ducklings tweeted with distaste at the last little bird and turned their backs on him. "There, there," soothed Mother Duck kindly. "Hello, my last little darling."
"Honk, honk,"
replied the grey and scrawny duckling in a voice that sounded very different to the gentle tweeting of the other ducklings. "Never mind," said Mother Duck lovingly. "You may not look or sound like my other little ducklings, but I still love you."
"Yuck,"
tweeted all the other ducklings.
"he is ugly. We don't like him."
"Now, now," scolded Mother Duck. "He is just the same as all of you inside. Come and welcome your new brother." But the other ducklings turned away and would not do as their mother asked.
"Honk, honk,"
said the ugly duckling sadly. Time went by, and Mother Duck began to teach her ducklings how to swim on the pond and how to find food. Mother Duck loved all her chicks equally and always included the ugly duckling in everything. But his brothers and sisters continued to treat him badly. When they were walking towards the pond, they would always make him go to the end of the line. And when they found food, they would always make sure that the ugly duckling had the smallest share. Whenever their mother wasn't looking, they would tease him.
"You are so ugly. You should cover your face with pondweed so that no one would have to look at you. Why don't you go out at night so you don't scare anyone with your horrible looks? You're not the same as us, and we don't like you. Why don't you just go away? You don't belong here."
The ugly duckling cried big, wet tears that dribbled down his beak and fell with a splash onto the ground. He thought about what his brothers and sisters said to him and decided they must be right.
It is true what they say,
He sobbed miserably.
I am ugly. I am the ugliest duckling there has ever been.
He waddled over to the pond and looked down, gazing at his reflection in the water.
If my own brothers and sisters don't love me, then no one will ever love me,
He decided sadly.
They are right. I don't belong here. I should run away and be on my own, and then no one would have to look at my ugly face.
A tear fell down the ugly duckling's beak and splashed into the pond, disturbing his reflection with hundreds of tiny ripples.
Yes,
He decided firmly.
I will run away so that my ugly face will never be seen again.
The ugly duckling waited until his mother and all the other ducklings had gone off to look for food, and then he waddled slowly away. He decided that he must find a new place where he could live quietly on his own, and where he would never have to show his ugly face to another living creature. He waddled far away, spending days trying to find water and the odd scrap of food. Time went by, and the days began to grow shorter and colder. Winter was approaching, and the ugly duckling could not understand why he was suddenly so cold and shivery. All he had ever known was the warmth of the spring and the summer, when there was plenty of food around. Now he found it hard to find anything to eat at all. As the days went by, the ugly duckling grew weaker and weaker. The frost came, and the ugly duckling was puzzled by the fact that everything was white and glistening. Worst of all, when he thought he had found a pond to swim on and to drink from, he discovered that it was covered with a thick layer of ice. The ugly duckling banged his beak on the ice, trying to get to the water underneath, but he could not break it. Aching, cold and hungry, he crept under a bush and curled up in a shivering little ball. He thought about his mother, and tears trickled from his eyes.
It is all my fault,
he sniffed miserably.
If I wasn't such an ugly duckling, my brothers and sisters would have loved me, and I could have stayed with my family.
Somehow, the ugly duckling survived the winter months. He was aware that he was growing bigger each day, and as the weather began to turn warmer again, he started to worry about his size.
It's all very well hiding away as a small duckling, but it is going to be much harder to conceal my face if I keep growing.
The ugly duckling did, however, keep growing, and the days grew longer again. One morning, the ugly duckling woke up to find that blossom was appearing on the trees, and the frost was completely gone from the ground. He realized that he no longer felt weak and tired, and it was as if the sunshine was giving him strength and encouragement. The ugly duckling wandered a long way that day, until he came to a large lake he had not seen before. There was no longer any ice on the water, and so the ugly duckling slipped swiftly onto the surface and glided out into the center of the lake. It felt wonderful to be swimming again, and the ugly duckling forgot that he had vowed never to be seen by another living creature. He swam up and down, amazed at how strong he felt and how powerfully he seemed to be able to move. Suddenly, something white and glistening bright caught his eye, and he looked up to see the most beautiful bird he had ever seen. The bird had huge white feathers and a long, slender neck, and, as the ugly duckling watched, it flew gracefully out of the sky and onto the surface of the lake. Before the ugly duckling had a chance to hurry away and hide, the beautiful white bird glided smoothly over to him and said hello. Hello, mumbled the ugly duckling, who felt ashamed and embarrassed to be looked at by this beautiful bird. I haven't seen you before, said the white bird warmly. I thought I knew all the swans on the lake.
Swans?
Asked the ugly duckling with confusion. Oh, is that what you are? A swan? Why, yes, of course, laughed the swan. Just the same as you. The same as me? Echoed the ugly duckling, who was now even more puzzled. Please don't tease me. I know I am just an ugly duckling. An ugly duckling? Replied the swan kindly. I don't think so. You are one of the finest swans I have ever seen. The ugly duckling could not believe what he was hearing. Very slowly he looked down at his reflection in the water, expecting to see the same grey, scrawny face looking back at him. What he saw, however, made him gasp with amazement. He had a long, white, slender neck, an orange beak, and snowy white feathers. "I'm a swan!" he cried. "I really am! I'm a swan!" And from that day on, he never felt he had to hide himself away again. He lived on the lake and became part of the huge family of swans who lived there. For the first time in his life, he felt as though he belonged. But despite this, he never forgot his mother, who had loved him, even when he was just an ugly duckling.